My name is Dr. Amanda Voss, epidemiologist with the CDC's Special Pathogens Branch. I've been doing this job for 12 years. I've handled outbreaks in 6 countries. I've seen diseases that would make your stomach turn. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for Pinetop Lakeside, Arizona. The town went silent on September 8th, 2024. Population of 4,500 people, just gone. No phone calls, no internet, no radio signals, complete communications blackout. When our hazmat teams finally breached the quarantine zone last week, we found a town reduced to ash and bone. I'm sharing this journal because the official story is a lie. The government says Pinetop Lakeside was destroyed by a wildfire caused by lightning strikes. That's not what happened. What happened was darker, more deliberate, and if it happens again, you need to know the truth. Everything in this journal is authentic. I haven't changed a word. The handwriting analysis confirms multiple authors, all writing under extreme stress. The first entry is dated September 1st, 2024, 1 week before Pinetop Lakeside ceased to exist. May God have mercy on us all. September 1st, 2024, afternoon. My name's Daniel Garrett, and my therapist says keeping a journal will help me deal with the stress of my job. I'm a paramedic with Pinetop Lakeside Fire and Rescue. Been doing it for about 8 years now. Most days it's routine stuff. Heart attacks, broken bones, tourists who can't handle the 7,000-foot altitude. Nothing I can't handle. Today started routine. It didn't stay that way. We got a call around 2 in the afternoon. Hiker down on White Mountain Trail, about 5 miles east of town. That trail's popular with out-of-towners who come up from Phoenix to escape the heat. My partner Jake and I grabbed the rig and headed out. The drive up there was normal. Jake was talking about his daughter's volleyball game. I was thinking about what to make for dinner. Just another Sunday shift. When we got to the trailhead, a woman came running toward us before we even parked. She was maybe 30, wearing expensive hiking gear, completely hysterical. Mascara running down her face, hyperventilating, grabbing at my arm the second I stepped out. "Please help. My boyfriend. Something's wrong with him." Jake grabbed the medical kit and we followed her up the trail. It wasn't far, maybe a quarter mile in. That's where we found him. White male, mid-30s, lying on the ground in the dirt. His whole body was jerking and twitching, but his eyes were wide open, staring straight up at nothing. And the sound he was making. Jesus Christ, I can still hear it. This wet, gurgling wheeze like he was trying to breathe through water, like he was drowning in his own lungs. "How long's he been like this?" I asked, kneeling down beside him. "I don't know. 10 minutes?" We were just walking and talking, and then he grabbed his head and said it hurt really bad, and then he just collapsed. The woman was shaking, wringing her hands. I checked his temperature while Jake got the vitals. The thermometer read 104.9 degrees. That's seizure territory. That's brain damage levels. His skin felt wrong too. Not just hot, but clammy and sort of slick, and the color was off. Grayish, like old hamburger meat. "We need to get him to the hospital right now," Jake said, his voice tight. Here's where I made the first mistake. The one that's going to haunt me until the day I die, however long that is. As we lifted him onto the stretcher, the guy's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. Not just grabbed, clamped down like a vice. His eyes snapped open and locked onto mine, and they were wrong. All wrong. The whites had turned bloodshot. So red they looked like they were bleeding from the inside. And the way he stared at me, there was nothing human in it. Just this raw animal hunger. His other hand came up fast and grabbed my forearm, nails digging in hard enough to break skin through my uniform sleeve. I felt the sting, felt warm blood running down to my wrist. Jake had to physically pry his fingers open to get him off me. The guy's nails had torn through the fabric and gouged 4 deep scratches into my arm. "Jesus, Danny, you're bleeding," Jake said. "I'm fine. Let's just get him loaded." We sedated him. Had to give him twice the normal dose because he kept thrashing even after the first injection. The girlfriend rode up front with Jake. I stayed in back with the patient, watching him twitch and moan through the sedation. Every couple minutes his eyes would flutter open and find me, tracking my movement with that same predatory stare, like he was sizing me up, like he was deciding which part of me to eat first. We got him to Pine Top Medical Center around 3:30. Dr. Patricia Reeves met us at the emergency entrance. She's been working here for 20 years, seen everything there is to see in a small-town hospital. She's usually calm as ice, but when Jake told her the patient had broken my skin, I saw her face go pale. "Broken skin? Daniel, show me." I rolled up my sleeve. The scratches were deep, still bleeding, 4 parallel lines running from my wrist halfway to my elbow. Dr. Reeves stared at them for a long moment. "Get him into isolation. Full hazmat protocols. Nobody goes near him without proper gear." She turned to me. "Daniel, you need to get those wounds cleaned and dressed immediately. Use betadine, then antibacterial ointment, then bandage them tight. Understand?" "Doc, it's just scratches." "Do it now." They wheeled the guy into isolation. I went to clean my wounds like Dr. Reeves ordered. The girlfriend, her name was Jennifer, sat in the waiting room crying. I should have left right then. My shift was technically over. But I couldn't just leave her there alone and terrified. That's who I am. I help people, even when I shouldn't, even when it puts me in danger. Rachel, that's my wife. She's always telling me I need to learn when to walk away. She's probably right. I sat down next to Jennifer. "He's going to be okay. Dr. Reeves is the best." She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "No, he's not. You don't understand. Something happened out there before he got sick." "What do you mean?" Jennifer leaned closer, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "We were hiking and we saw something. Off the trail, maybe 50 feet into the woods. It looked like a person at first, just standing there between the trees. But it wasn't moving right. It was too still. And then it turned its head toward us and I saw its eyes. They were glowing red, not reflecting light, actually glowing like LEDs or something. I felt cold all over. Probably just someone wearing reflective gear. It wasn't gear." Her fingers dug into my bandaged arm, and I had to bite back a wince. "Daniel, that thing made this sound. This clicking sound, like thousands of insects all at once. And the second we heard it, Robert started screaming, clutching his head, saying something was inside his skull. Then he collapsed and started seizing. Before I could respond, Dr. Reeves came back out. Her expression was grim. "Jennifer, I need you to come with me. I have questions about Robert's medical history, any recent illnesses, medications, anything that might explain his symptoms." Jennifer stood up, but she turned back to me one more time. "Be careful. That thing in the woods, whatever it was, I think it did something to him. I think it infected him." I watched her disappear down the hallway with Dr. Reeves, then headed home. My wife Rachel was in the kitchen making spaghetti when I walked in. Our daughter Emma, she just turned 7 last month, was sitting at the table doing her homework. When she saw me, she jumped up and hugged my legs. "Daddy, did you save somebody today?" I smiled and ruffled her hair. "We tried, sweetie. That's all we can do." Rachel looked at me over Emma's head. She knows me too well. She could tell something was wrong. I shook my head slightly. "Not now. Not in front of Emma." After we put Emma to bed, I told Rachel everything. About the hiker, about the scratches on my arm, about what Jennifer said about the thing in the woods with glowing red eyes. "You need to be more careful," Rachel said, touching my bandaged arm gently. If that guy has something contagious. Dr. Reeves had me clean it immediately. Used betadine, antibiotics, the works. I'm fine. But I wasn't fine. Even as I said it, my arm was throbbing with this deep, persistent ache. And I kept seeing those red eyes staring at me. Kept hearing that wet, gurgling sound. Around 11 o'clock that night, my phone rang. Jake. Danny. Turn on the news. Channel 7. I grabbed the remote and switched it on. The news anchor looked shaken, reading from notes someone had just handed her. Multiple reports of violent attacks in several communities across northern Arizona. Authorities are urging residents to stay indoors and avoid contact with anyone displaying unusual behavior. Symptoms include high fever, discolored skin, red or bloodshot eyes, and extreme aggression. State health officials have contacted the CDC and... The screen suddenly cut to black. Then that harsh emergency alert tone blared through the speakers, the one that makes your heart skip a beat. A message appeared in stark white letters on a red background. Emergency alert. Quarantine notice. Effective immediately. All residents must shelter in place. A highly contagious pathogen has been identified in multiple communities. Do not leave your homes. Do not approach anyone displaying symptoms. Fever above 104 degrees Fahrenheit, gray or discolored skin, red eyes, violent or aggressive behavior. If you observe infected individuals, call 911 immediately. Do not attempt to render aid. Federal emergency response teams are en route. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. My blood turned to ice. Rachel grabbed my hand, her grip painfully tight. Daniel, that hiker you brought in today, those symptoms... I was already calling the hospital. The phone rang 15 times before someone picked up. I could hear chaos in the background, screaming, glass shattering, that horrible wet gurgling sound but multiplied, dozens of voices making it at once. Pine Top Medical. The voice was young, female, panicked. This is Daniel Garrett, paramedic. What's happening there? They broke out. The isolation ward. They broke through the door, and they're everywhere. We're trying to... A scream. The sound of the phone clattering to the floor. More screaming. Then that clicking sound Jennifer had described. Rapid, rhythmic, getting louder. The line went dead. I looked at Rachel. At the ceiling, where Emma slept peacefully in her room, completely unaware that the world was ending around us. Pack a bag, I said. We're leaving, right now. That was 6 hours ago. We didn't make it out. We got as far as loading the car before we saw them coming down the street. At least a dozen people moving in this jerky, unnatural way. Their eyes glowing red in the darkness. We ran back inside, locked every door and window, and carried Emma down to the basement. She's asleep now on the old couch, curled up next to Rachel. Outside I can hear them. Lots of them. They were screaming earlier. These inhuman shrieks that made my teeth hurt. Now they're just clicking. That insect wing sound Jennifer described. And they're testing the doors, the windows, looking for a way in. My phone's almost dead, but before the signal cut out completely, I saw the messages in our town Facebook group. The infection spreads through bites, scratches, any contact with infected blood or saliva. Some people are saying it's a bioweapon. Others are saying it's something that came out of the old uranium mines east of town. Nobody knows for sure. I keep looking at the scratches on my arm. They're not bleeding anymore, but the skin around them has started to turn dark. Not bruised. Something else. Like the tissue underneath is dying. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm going to keep writing. Document everything. If someone finds this, they need to know what happened here. They need to understand how it started. First, though, I need to check my arm. Need to see how far the discoloration has spread. September 2nd, 2024. Early morning. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The scratches on my arm have gotten worse. The discoloration has spread from my wrist to my elbow, these dark veins branching out under my skin like black tree roots. They're not black exactly, more like dark red, almost purple, and they pulse slightly with my heartbeat. When I press on them, they don't hurt. They just feel cold. Dead. Around 3 a.m, the clicking sounds outside finally stopped. Everything went quiet. That silence was worse than the noise. At least when they were making sounds, I knew where they were. Now they could be anywhere. Right outside the door, right outside the window, waiting. I went upstairs carefully around dawn to check the street, moved the curtain back just an inch. The Carmichael's house across the street was on fire, black smoke pouring out of the upstairs windows, and there were bodies in the street. At least 3 that I could see, torn apart. Pieces scattered across the pavement like someone had taken them apart to see how they worked. That's when I heard the helicopter, military from the sound of it, flying low over the town. I watched it circle twice, then head north toward the hospital. For the first time since this started, I felt hope. Real hope. Help was coming. The government was here. They'd evacuate us, get us somewhere safe. My emergency radio crackled to life. It runs on batteries, something I keep for situations exactly like this. This is Colonel James Patterson of the Arizona National Guard. If you are receiving this transmission, remain in your homes. We have established a security perimeter around Pinetop Lakeside. Medical evacuation teams are being deployed to Pinetop Medical Center. If you or anyone in your household is displaying symptoms of infection, mark your location with a red cloth or object in your front window. Medical personnel will come to you. If you are uninfected and secure, stay where you are. Do not attempt to leave the quarantine zone. Anyone attempting to breach the perimeter will be stopped. I repeat, do not attempt to leave. Federal assistance is here. Remain calm. Rachel came up the stairs. Emma was still asleep in the basement. Did you hear that? They're evacuating people from the hospital. We can go there. Get help. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But something in the colonel's voice, the way he said, "will be stopped," instead of "will be turned back," made my stomach turn. And the scratches on my arm were getting darker. The veins had reached my shoulder now. Rachel, I don't think we should go to the hospital. Why not? They're evacuating people. They're evacuating uninfected people. Look at my arm. I pulled up my sleeve. She gasped. I'm infected. Have been since yesterday. If we go to that hospital, they'll separate us. They'll quarantine me, or worse. You don't know that you're infected. It could just be an infection, like bacteria. It's not bacteria. We stared at each other. I could see her trying to convince herself I was wrong, trying to believe this was all going to be okay. But we both knew the truth. I was dying. Slowly, but dying. And when I finished dying, I was going to become one of those things outside. Emma came upstairs, rubbing her eyes. I'm hungry, Daddy. I realized we hadn't fed her breakfast. We had cereal, some canned food, enough for maybe 4 or 5 days if we stretched it. I made Emma a bowl of cereal with the last of the milk and let her eat it in the living room while Rachel and I talked in the kitchen. We need to get Emma out of here, I said quietly, before I turn, before I become dangerous to her. You're not going to turn. Rachel, look at me. Really look at me. She did. I saw the exact moment she accepted it. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. How long? I don't know. A day, maybe 2. The infection is moving slower in me than it did in that hiker. Maybe because I got a smaller dose. Maybe because I'm stronger. Maybe I'm just lucky. But it's happening. Then we have time to get you help. There is no help. This thing, whatever it is, there's no cure. The only help I can give you and Emma is making sure you're somewhere safe before I lose myself completely." That's when we heard the sound. Someone pounding on our front door. Not the scratching from last night. Real, human pounding. And a voice shouting, "Daniel! Daniel Garrett! I know you're in there. Please, you have to help me." I recognized the voice. Tom Brecker, our next-door neighbor. He teaches history at the high school, coaches the basketball team. Good guy. Him and his wife Linda always invited us to their barbecues. I went to the door but didn't open it. "Tom, you okay?" No, I'm not okay. Linda's sick. She's got the fever and her eyes are changing and I don't know what to do. You're a paramedic. You can help her. Please." Every instinct in my body screamed at me to open that door, to help. That's what I do. That's who I am. But I thought about Emma, about Rachel, about the scratches on my arm. "Tom, I can't. The National Guard is at the hospital. They're evacuating people. You need to take Linda there." "I can't get her to the car. She's too sick. She can barely stand. Please, Daniel, please. We've been neighbors for 6 years. You have to help me." Rachel grabbed my arm. "Don't. He needs help. And what about Emma? What about me? If you go out there, then you lock the door behind me and you don't open it for anyone, not even me." "Daniel, no." But I was already unlocking the door, because I'm an idiot, because I can't help myself, because seeing people suffer and doing nothing about it isn't something I'm capable of, even now, even knowing it's stupid and dangerous and might get my family killed. I stepped outside. Tom was standing on our porch, and he looked terrible, unshaven, clothes dirty, eyes bloodshot from crying or lack of sleep or both. But he wasn't infected. Not yet. "Thank God," he said. "Thank God. She's in our bedroom. I can't move her by myself." "Tom, listen to me. I can help you get her to your car, but then you need to drive her to the hospital. I can't go with you. I can't be around her for long. Do you understand?" "Why not?" I showed him my arm. His face went white. Oh, Jesus Christ, you're... Yeah. So we need to move fast, before it gets worse. We ran to his house. Linda was in their bedroom, lying on the bed, shaking violently. Her skin had that same gray tint I'd seen on the hiker. Her eyes were closed, but I could see the rapid movement underneath her eyelids. The fever was cooking her brain. We had maybe 10 minutes before she turned. Tom and I got her down the stairs. She was dead weight, completely unresponsive. We were halfway to his car when I heard the clicking. Not from Linda, from somewhere else. Multiple sources, all around us. They came out of the Carmichaels' burning house, out from behind parked cars, out of the woods at the end of the street. At least 20 of them, moving fast, jerky, wrong, their red eyes fixed on us. "Run!" I shoved Tom toward his car. "Get Linda in the car and drive. Go to the hospital, now." "What about you?" "I'll hold them off. Go." Tom dragged Linda to the car. I turned to face the infected. I had nothing, no weapons, no plan, just my fists, and the desperate hope that maybe they'd recognize something in me. Maybe the infection in my arm would make them think I was one of them. The closest one was a teenage girl. Couldn't have been more than 16. She was still wearing her Pine Top high school volleyball uniform. She came at me with her mouth open, showing teeth that had filed themselves down to point somehow. I didn't think, just reacted, punched her in the throat as hard as I could. She went down choking. The next one was an old man, Mr. Henderson himself. I grabbed him and threw him into a parked car. His head hit the window and it shattered. He dropped. And the next, and the next. I was stronger than I should have been. Faster. The infection was doing that, changing me, making me into something else. Behind me, I heard Tom's car start. tires squealing. He was getting away. Good. That's what mattered. I'd helped someone, done what I could. Then something hit me from behind, hard, knocked me down onto the pavement. I rolled over, and there were 5 of them on top of me, clawing, biting. I felt teeth sink into my leg, nails tearing at my chest. I screamed and fought and kicked, but there were too many. Then gunfire, loud, rapid gunfire. The infected on top of me jerked and fell away. I looked up and saw Jake, my partner, standing in the middle of the street with a hunting rifle. He fired 3 more times, dropping 3 more infected. "Get up!" he yelled. "Move!" I scrambled to my feet and ran. Jake covered me, firing at any infected that got too close. We made it to his truck parked 2 houses down. He threw me into the passenger seat and floored it. "What the hell were you thinking?" he shouted as we sped down the street. "Going out there alone?" Tom needed help. His wife was sick. "His wife is dead, Danny, or she will be in about 5 minutes. You can't save everyone." I had to try. Jake glanced at me, then at my arm where the sleeve had torn, showing the dark veins spreading across my skin. His face hardened. "Jesus, you're infected." "Yeah." "How long?" "Since yesterday. Since that hiker grabbed me." "Why didn't you tell me?" "What good would it have done? There's no cure, no treatment. All I can do is try to keep Rachel and Emma safe for as long as I can." Jake drove in silence for a moment. We were heading west, toward the edge of town. "The National Guard isn't evacuating people," he said finally. "I was at the hospital this morning. I saw what they're doing. They're not saving anyone. They're documenting, taking samples, studying the infected like lab rats. And anyone who's been exposed, anyone who might be infected, they're not evacuating them. They're sedating them and locking them in the basement." My blood ran cold. "What?" "I heard 2 soldiers talking. This isn't a rescue operation. It's containment. They're going to seal off the town and let the infection burn itself out. And anyone still inside when that happens is going to die." "That's insane. There are thousands of people here." "There were thousands of people here. I don't know how many are left, but it's not many." We drove past the high school. The parking lot was full of abandoned cars. The building's windows were smashed. Bodies on the front lawn. So many bodies. Jake kept driving. "Where are we going?" I asked. "The old Mogollon Rim mine. The uranium mine east of town. It's deep enough that we might be able to hide there. Wait this thing out." "Jake, I can't. Rachel and Emma are at the house. I need to get back to them." "Then I'll drop you off. But Danny, you need to understand something. You're infected. In another day, maybe less, you're going to turn into one of those things. And when you do, you're going to try to kill your family. You need to make a choice. Stay with them and risk hurting them, or leave now while you're still human enough to walk away." I thought about Emma, about her smile, about how she'd asked me if I saved someone today. I thought about Rachel and how she'd begged me not to open the door, how I'd done it anyway. I thought about who I was, the guy who always helped, who always tried to save people, even when it cost him everything. "Take me home," I said. "I'll figure something out." Jake pulled up to my house 10 minutes later. Rachel was at the window. She ran out when she saw me get out of the truck. "Oh, thank God," she said, hugging me. Then she saw the bite on my leg, the claw marks on my chest. Oh no, Daniel. "I'm okay. They didn't get deep." "You're bleeding everywhere." Jake got out of the truck. "Rachel, you need to get Emma and whatever supplies you can carry. We're going to the old uranium mine. It's the only place that might be safe." "What about Daniel?" Jake looked at me, then back at her. "He's coming too. But you need to understand what that means. He's infected. He's going to turn. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. And when he does, we'll have to deal with it." Rachel's face crumpled. There has to be another way. There has to be something. There isn't, I said softly. But I can still help get you somewhere safe. I can still do that much. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded and went back inside to get Emma. I'm writing this while she packs. My hands are shaking. The veins have spread across my chest now. I can feel them creeping up my neck. And I'm starting to hear things. Whispers at the edge of my hearing. That clicking sound. Even when there's nothing there. Sometimes when I look at Rachel, just for a second, I see her differently. Not as my wife, as something else, something that smells good, that would taste good. Then the feeling passes and I hate myself for thinking it. We're leaving in 5 minutes, heading for the mine. I don't know how long I have left, but I'm going to use every second I have left to protect my family, even if protecting them means protecting them from me. September 2nd, 2024, late afternoon. We made it to the mine around noon. The drive was a nightmare. Every street we turned down had more bodies, more burning houses, more of those things wandering around, clicking at each other. Jake had to drive over curbs and through yards to avoid them. Emma kept asking what was wrong with all the people. Rachel told her they were sick and we needed to stay away from them. Simple enough for a 7-year-old to understand. Simple enough to keep her from completely panicking. The old Mogollon Rim uranium mine has been abandoned since the 80s. The entrance is about 8 miles east of town, up in the hills where the pine trees are thick. When we got there, I expected it to be empty. It wasn't. There were cars parked all around the entrance, at least 20 of them. Other people had the same idea. Jake parked, and we got out carefully. The mine entrance was a big concrete tunnel built into the hillside, with rusted metal doors that had been torn open. Someone had spray-painted a message on the concrete wall next to the entrance. Survivors inside, infected will be shot. Friendly, Jake muttered. We gathered our supplies. I'd grabbed what I could from the house, some food, water bottles, flashlights, my first aid kit. Jake had more supplies in his truck. Rachel carried Emma on her hip. Emma was too scared to walk on her own. We went inside. The tunnel was dark and cool, smelling of damp rock and old machinery. Our flashlights cut through the darkness. We could hear voices echoing from somewhere deeper inside. After about 5 minutes of walking downward, we rounded a corner and found them. At least 40 people packed into a large chamber that had probably been a staging area for miners back in the day. They'd set up battery-powered lanterns and camping lights. Families huddled together, kids crying quietly. Everyone looking hollow and exhausted and terrified. A man stepped forward. He was tall, maybe late 50s, with gray hair and hard eyes. He had a shotgun slung over his shoulder. "Who are you?" "Daniel Garrett. This is my wife Rachel, my daughter Emma, and my partner Jake. We're from town, looking for shelter." "Shelter from what? The infected or the National Guard?" "Both." The man studied us for a moment. "I'm Richard Cross, former sheriff of Navajo County. We've been here since yesterday evening. Right now we've got 43 people, counting you 4. We have food for about 3 days if we're careful. Water for maybe 5. After that we'll need to figure something else out." "Have you heard anything from outside? Any news?" Jake asked. "Radio's dead. Cell phones don't work. We're completely cut off. But we did see helicopters flying over this morning. Military. They weren't looking for survivors. They were surveying damage, taking pictures, like they were documenting what happened rather than trying to stop it." That matched what Jake had seen at the hospital. This wasn't a rescue. This was observation, study, containment. Richard's eyes moved to my arm. I'd put on a long-sleeve shirt to hide the veins, but my neck was visible. The dark discoloration was creeping up past my collar now. "You're infected." Everyone in the chamber went silent. All eyes on me. I am, I said. No point lying. But I'm still in control. I'm not a danger. Not yet. Not yet, Richard repeated. That's the problem. How long until you are a danger? I don't know. A day, maybe 2. The infection is moving slower in me than in others. But it is moving. A woman in the crowd stood up. She was young, maybe 30, with bloodstains on her jacket. I'm Dr. Lisa Park. I was working at the hospital when everything went to hell. I've seen this infection up close. Most people turn in 20 to 30 minutes after exposure. Some take longer. The longest I saw was 6 hours. If you've been infected since yesterday and you're still lucid, that's unusual. Why? Rachel asked. Why is it taking longer with him? I don't know. Maybe the dose was smaller. Maybe his immune system is fighting it differently. But I can tell you this. It doesn't stop. It doesn't reverse. Every person I've seen infected has eventually turned. There are no exceptions. The crowd started murmuring. I could see the fear in their eyes. They wanted me gone, wanted me as far away from their families as possible. I couldn't blame them. I'll stay on the far side of the chamber, I said, away from everyone. Someone can watch me. First sign I'm losing control, first sign I'm turning, you do what you need to do. Richard nodded slowly. The wife and kids stay with the main group, not with you. Rachel started to protest, but I cut her off. He's right. You and Emma need to be as far from me as possible. No, Emma said suddenly. It was the first word she'd spoken since we left the house. I want to stay with Daddy. My heart broke. Emma, sweetheart, Daddy's sick. I might get sicker. You need to stay with Mommy where it's safe. You said you'd keep us safe. You promised. I know, baby, I know, and I will. But the best way I can keep you safe right now is by staying away from you. Emma started crying. Rachel picked her up and carried her to the far side of the chamber where the other families were gathered. Emma reached out for me over Rachel's shoulder, crying, Daddy, Daddy! It took everything I had not to go to her. Jake stayed with me. I'll keep watch, he said quietly. Make sure you don't do anything you'll regret. Thanks. I moved to the opposite corner of the chamber. A young guy, maybe 25, followed me with a crowbar gripped tight in both hands. His name was Tyler. He didn't say much. Just sat on a rock about 10 feet away and watched me. Every time I moved, he tensed up, ready to swing. The hours passed slowly. Dr. Park worked on the wounded. There were quite a few. A kid with a broken arm, an old man with a nasty gash across his face, a woman who'd been bitten on the shoulder but somehow hadn't turned yet. Dr. Park was doing what she could with limited supplies, trying to keep everyone stable. Around 4 in the afternoon, the ground started shaking, just a little at first, like a small tremor. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Some of the kids started crying. Then we heard it, a deep, distant rumbling, coming from the direction of town. Richard sent 2 men to the entrance to look. They came back 5 minutes later, their faces pale. They're bombing the town, one of them said. We can see the smoke from here. Fires everywhere. The chamber erupted, people shouting, crying, demanding to know what was happening. Richard fired his shotgun into the ceiling. The blast echoed through the chamber, loud enough to make everyone shut up. Listen to me, he shouted. We knew this might happen. The government's burning the infection out. If we stay here, if we stay deep enough in the mine, we'll survive. But we need to stay calm. Panic will kill us faster than any fire. What about our homes? Someone shouted. Our things? Gone. It's all gone. The only thing that matters now is surviving the next 24 hours. More rumbling. The lights flickered. One of the lanterns fell over and shattered. In the brief darkness before someone lit another one, I heard that sound, that clicking, but it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from deeper in the mine, from the tunnels that branched off from this chamber. "Did anyone else hear that?" Jake asked. "Hear what?" Richard said. "Clicking, like the infected make." Everyone went silent, listening. There it was again, faint but unmistakable, coming from the darkness beyond our lights. "We're not alone down here," I said. Richard grabbed his shotgun. "Tyler, Brad, Danny, you're with me. The rest of you stay here and stay quiet." "I should go," Jake said. "No, you stay with the families. I need you here in case something goes wrong." Richard looked at me. "You're infected. You can smell them, can't you? Track them?" I didn't want to admit it, but he was right. I could smell something. Something that made my mouth water and my stomach growl. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I can smell them." "Then you're our early warning system. Let's move." We grabbed flashlights and headed into the tunnel where the clicking had come from. It sloped downward, the ceiling getting lower and the air getting colder. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. Our footsteps echoed. The clicking got louder as we went deeper, more rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. And I could smell them now, really smell them. That rot and copper smell of infected flesh. There were several of them, maybe 5 or 6. "They must have come in through another entrance," Richard whispered. "The mine has multiple shafts. If they found a way in—" Something moved in the darkness ahead. Red eyes appeared. Then more. 5 sets of glowing red eyes, all staring at us from maybe 30 feet away. "Get ready," Richard said, raising his shotgun. But they didn't attack. They just stood there, clicking at each other. Then they looked at me. All 5 of them, their heads turning in unison to focus on me. One of them made a different sound. Not clicking. More like a question, a high-pitched chirp. And I understood it. I don't know how, but I understood. They were asking if I was one of them, if I was family. I opened my mouth and clicked back. The sound came from deep in my chest, not quite human, not quite animal. I told them yes. Yes, I was one of them. But this territory was claimed. They needed to leave. The 5 infected tilted their heads, considering. Then, one by one, they backed away into the darkness. Their red eyes disappeared. The clicking faded. "What the hell just happened?" Tyler breathed. Richard was staring at me. "You spoke to them. You communicated with those things. I don't know what I did. It just happened. Can you control them?" "I don't think so. I think I just convinced them we weren't worth the trouble. For now." We headed back to the main chamber. Rachel was waiting at the entrance. Emma clutched to her chest. "What happened?" "We heard the clicking." "There were infected in the tunnels. Daniel scared them off." Rachel looked at me, and I saw the fear in her eyes. Not fear of the infected, fear of me, of what I was becoming. "Are you okay?" "No," I said honestly. "I'm not okay, but I'm still me. For now." That was 3 hours ago. The bombing has stopped. The ground isn't shaking anymore. But we can smell smoke seeping into the mine through cracks in the rock. The air is getting harder to breathe. Dr. Park has people covering their mouths with wet cloth to filter the smoke. My veins have spread across my entire chest and up my neck. They're on my face now, dark lines creeping across my cheeks and forehead. My eyes are starting to hurt. When I looked in a piece of broken mirror someone had, I could see the whites turning pink. Soon, they'll be red. Soon, I'll be one of them completely. I'm writing this while I still can, while I can still remember who I am. Daniel Garrett, paramedic, father, husband, helper of people. I can hear Emma crying from across the chamber. She wants her daddy. Rachel's trying to calm her down, but it's not working. I need to get out of here before I hurt someone, before I hurt them, but I don't know if I'm strong enough to walk away. September 3rd, 2024, early morning. I almost killed Jake last night. That's how I know my time is running out. It was around 2 in the morning. Everyone was asleep or trying to sleep. Jake was sitting next to me, keeping watch like he'd been doing for hours. He started to nod off, his head drooping forward, and I saw it, the exposed back of his neck, the pulse point where the artery runs close to the skin. And I wanted it, wanted to tear into it, taste it. I was on my feet, moving toward him, my hands reaching for his throat before I even realized what I was doing. Tyler saw it happen. He swung the crowbar and hit me in the ribs hard enough to knock me down. The pain shocked me back to myself. Jake woke up, confused, not understanding how close he'd just come to dying. "Sorry," I gasped, clutching my side. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I wasn't in control." Richard came over, his shotgun in his hands. "That's it. You need to leave. Now, before you hurt someone." "I know." "Daddy?" Emma's voice small and scared from across the chamber. "What's happening?" "Nothing, baby. Go back to sleep." But she didn't. She came running across the chamber before Rachel could stop her, threw her arms around my legs. "Don't leave, Daddy. Please don't leave." I knelt down and hugged her, probably for the last time. She felt so small, so fragile, and that infected part of me was screaming to bite her, to infect her, to make her like me. I fought it down with everything I had. "Emma, listen to me. I need to go away for a little while, but Mommy's going to stay here with you, and Jake, and all these nice people. They're going to keep you safe." "I don't want you to go." "I know, sweetheart. I don't want to go either. But I'm sick, remember? And I might get other people sick if I stay, so I have to leave." Rachel came over, tears streaming down her face. She pulled Emma away gently. "Say goodbye to Daddy, honey." "Bye, Daddy," Emma sobbed. "Goodbye, baby girl. I love you so much, more than anything in the whole world. You remember that, okay?" She nodded, crying too hard to speak. Rachel picked her up and carried her back to their sleeping area. Emma reached out for me over Rachel's shoulder, just like she had yesterday. It hurt worse this time. Rachel came back alone a few minutes later. "How long do you think you have?" "Hours. Maybe less. The infection is accelerating. I can feel it taking over." "Is there anything I can do?" "Take care of Emma. Tell her I loved her. Tell her I tried to be brave at the end." "You are brave. You've always been brave." She kissed me. Last kiss we'd ever share. Her lips tasted like salt from tears. "I love you, Daniel. I love you too." Then she walked away. Didn't look back. If she had, I don't think either of us could have handled it. Richard gave me a flashlight, a knife, and one of the walkie-talkies from Jake's truck. "Channel 7. If you need anything, if you want to talk, we'll be listening." "Thanks." "Daniel, what you're doing, leaving to protect them, that takes real strength. Your daughter's lucky to have you as a father." "Had. Past tense." "No, has. Present tense. The man who's walking out of here right now, the one making the hard choice, that's still you. That's still her father. Don't forget that." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Then I walked toward the mine entrance. Jake followed me. "I'm coming with you," he said. "No, you need to stay here. Protect Rachel and Emma. They've got Richard and 40 other people. They don't need me. You do." "Jake, I'm infected. In a few hours, I'm going to be one of those things. You can't help me." "Maybe not, but I can make sure you don't hurt anyone else before that happens. And when the time comes, when you're gone completely, I can make sure it's quick. You deserve that much. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to stay where it was safe. But the truth was, I was terrified of dying alone. Terrified of losing myself in the dark with no one there to end it before I became a monster. Okay, I said quietly. Thank you. We walked out of the mine together. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky orange and red. The air was thick with smoke. We could see Pinetop Lakeside in the distance, or what was left of it. Everything was burning. Buildings reduced to blackened skeletons. The church steeple had collapsed. The high school was gone. Main Street was unrecognizable. It looked like pictures I'd seen of bombed-out cities in war zones. They really did it, Jake said. They burned it all. Yeah. We sat on a rock outcropping overlooking the town. My town. The place where I'd lived for 15 years. Where I'd met Rachel. Where Emma had been born. All of it gone. Erased. Like it had never existed. The walkie-talkie crackled. Richard's voice came through. Daniel, you there? I'm here. We've got a problem. The infected you scared off last night? They're back. And they brought friends. We've got at least 20 of them in the tunnels moving toward us. They're not attacking yet. Just watching. Waiting. What do we do? I closed my eyes. Of course. Of course they came back. They'd sensed one of their own in the mine. They were drawn to me. I'd led them right to the survivors, just like I'd led them to my house, to Tom, to everyone I'd tried to help. Get everyone ready to seal the main chamber, I said. Use rocks, debris, anything you can find. Make it defensible. What are you going to do? I'm coming back. I'm going to lead them away. Daniel, you can't. Yes, I can. They recognize me. They'll follow me. I can draw them out and give you time to seal the entrance. That's suicide. The town's on fire. The National Guard's still out there. You won't make it. I'm already dead, Richard. Have been since that hiker scratched me 2 days ago. This way at least my death means something. Jake grabbed my arm. Danny, no. There has to be another way. There isn't. You know there isn't. Those people in there, they're depending on us. Rachel and Emma are depending on us. This is the only way to keep them safe. Then I'm going with you. No, you're going back inside. You're going to help Richard seal that entrance, and you're going to make sure my family survives. Promise me. Jake's eyes were red. Danny, promise me, Jake, please. I promise. I'll keep them safe. I swear it. Thank you. I stood up and handed him the walkie-talkie. Tell Rachel I love her. Tell Emma I'm sorry I couldn't keep my promise. Tell her I tried. I'll tell her. She'll understand. They both will. I started walking back toward the mine. Jake called after me. Daniel, you're a good man. The best man I know. Don't forget that. I didn't trust myself to answer. Just raised my hand in acknowledgement and kept walking. When I got to the mine entrance, I could see them. Red eyes glowing in the darkness of the tunnels. 20 of them, like Richard said. Maybe more. All clicking softly. All watching me. One of them stepped forward. It was the nurse thing from yesterday. She tilted her head and made that questioning chirp sound. I clicked back. Come with me, I told her. Follow me. There's food out here. Fresh prey. Better than the scared people in the dark. She clicked again. The others joined in. They were agreeing. They would follow. I turned and walked away from the mine, toward the burning town, toward the smoke and fire and death. Behind me, I heard them emerging from the mine entrance. 20 sets of footsteps. 20 infected, all clicking in unison, all following me like I was the Pied Piper leading rats to the river, except I was leading them to their deaths. And mine. The heat from the fires was intense as we got closer to town. I could feel it baking my skin. My lungs burned with every breath. The infected behind me were clicking frantically, confused by the heat, but they kept following, kept trusting me to lead them somewhere safe. I'm sorry, I thought. I'm sorry for what I'm doing. But those people in the mine deserve to live. My daughter deserves to live. And this is the only way I can make sure that happens. We reached the outskirts of town. The Carmichaels' house was completely engulfed in flames, so was the Thompsons, and the Martinezes. These were my neighbors, my friends, all gone now. One of the infected started to turn back, sensing the danger. I clicked at it. Aggressive, commanding. Keep moving. Don't stop. It obeyed reluctantly. We were on Main Street now, buildings collapsing on both sides, telephone poles falling over, power lines sparking. And ahead, in the center of town, I could see them. Military vehicles, a checkpoint set up where the library used to be, soldiers in hazmat suits. And something else, something big. A tank. They saw us coming. I heard shouting, alarms. The soldiers scattered, taking defensive positions behind their vehicles. One of them picked up a radio and started yelling into it. The infected around me realized something was wrong. They started clicking nervously, looking to me for direction. Run or fight. Those were the options. I clicked one more time, the last time. Attack, I told them. The prey is ahead. Go get them. The infected screamed and charged toward the military checkpoint. The soldiers opened fire, automatic weapons tearing through infected flesh, bodies dropping, but some of them made it through, crashed into the soldiers, tore at their hazmat suits. I didn't see what happened next. I turned and ran the opposite direction, deeper into the burning town, away from the mine, away from Rachel and Emma, away from everything I loved. My eyes were fully red now. I could see it in a broken car mirror as I ran past, glowing like LEDs. My skin was gray. My teeth hurt, like they were changing shape, sharpening. I was almost gone, almost completely turned, but not yet, not quite yet. I made it to the center of town, to the old plaza where they held the farmers market every Saturday, where I'd taken Emma to get fresh fruit, where Rachel and I had our first date 15 years ago. The gazebo was on fire. The fountain was dry and cracked. I collapsed in the middle of the plaza. Couldn't run anymore, couldn't breathe. My whole body was shutting down, burning up. I pulled out the knife Richard had given me, held it in my shaking hand. This was it. Daniel Garrett, age 34, paramedic, father, husband, dying alone in a burning town while trying to save people one last time. At least it was consistent. I raised the knife to my throat. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold it steady. This was the right thing to do, the only thing to do. End it before I turned completely, before I became a monster. But I couldn't do it. My survival instinct was too strong. The infection wouldn't let me hurt myself. Footsteps behind me. I turned and saw them. 5 soldiers in full combat gear, rifles pointed at me. One of them spoke into a radio. We have one infected alone in the town plaza, requesting permission to engage. A voice crackled back. Permission granted. Eliminate the target. The soldier raised his rifle. I looked at him and smiled. Thank you, I whispered. He fired, and Daniel Garrett died the way he lived, trying to save people, even if he couldn't save himself. September 3rd, 2024. Morning. Written by Rachel Garrett. Daniel is dead. I know he is. I felt it the moment it happened, around 8 this morning. Just this sudden cold emptiness in my chest, like someone had reached in and pulled out a piece of my soul. Jake tried to tell me he might still be alive, that maybe he got away somehow. But I know. A wife knows. Emma keeps asking when Daddy's coming back. I told her he had to go help some people and that he'd be back soon. Another lie. How many lies have I told her in the past 3 days? How many more will I have to tell before this is over? We've been sealed in this mine for 6 hours now. After Daniel left, Richard had everyone pile rocks and debris in the main tunnel entrance. We can still breathe, air's coming in through cracks and ventilation shafts, but nothing big enough for the infected to get through. We're trapped in here. Safe for now, but trapped. Jake came back about an hour after Daniel left. He wouldn't tell me what happened, just that Daniel had led the infected away toward town. Away from us. He died saving us. Of course he did. That's who Daniel was. Who he always was. Dr. Park has been checking everyone for symptoms. So far, nobody else is showing signs of infection. The woman who'd been bitten yesterday died about an hour ago. She never fully turned, though. Just got sicker and sicker until her heart gave out. Dr. Park says without other infected around, without that clicking communication, the disease can't complete its cycle. It needs a network, a community. That's something at least. The bombing stopped around noon. We could feel it when the ground stopped shaking. Richard sent 2 men to carefully check the entrance. They came back and said the fires are still burning, but the actual bombing has ended. The sky is black with smoke. They couldn't see the town from here, just smoke and haze. We're rationing food and water carefully now. Dr. Park says we can last maybe a week down here if we're smart about it. After that, we'll have to risk going outside to scavenge, if there's anything left to scavenge. Emma fell asleep in my lap about 20 minutes ago. She's been crying on and off all day. She knows something's wrong. Kids always know, no matter how much you try to hide it from them. When she wakes up, I'll have to tell her the truth, that Daddy's not coming back, that he died being a hero. I don't know how to do that. How do you tell a 7-year-old that her father is gone, that she'll never see him again, that he chose to die to save her? Jake's sitting with me now. He's been crying too, trying to hide it, but I can see. Daniel was his best friend. They'd been partners for 6 years. Jake's the one who found him the job here when we moved to Pine Top. He introduced us to half the people in town. He was at our wedding. He was there when Emma was born. He saved us, Jake said quietly. He saved all of us. I know. Those infected, they would have gotten in eventually, would have killed everyone, but he led them away, sacrificed himself. That's what he did. He helped people, even when it killed him. We sat in silence for a while. Then Jake said something that made my blood run cold. Rachel, I need to tell you something about what I saw at the hospital, about what the military is really doing here. What do you mean? This isn't just a containment operation. They're studying the infection, taking samples. I saw them with infected in cages, running tests. They knew about this disease before the outbreak. Or at least, they knew something was in these mountains. How is that possible? That hiker, Robert, the one who infected Daniel. His girlfriend Jennifer told Daniel they saw something in the woods before Robert got sick. Something with red eyes that made clicking sounds. I think that thing, whatever it was, is the source. Patient 0. And I think the government knew it was out there. I felt sick. You're saying they let this happen? I don't know. Maybe they didn't think it would spread this fast. Maybe they thought they could control it, but they didn't. And now 4,000 people are dead, and they're trying to cover it up. How do you know that? Because of what the soldiers said when they were putting infected in the basement. They kept talking about securing the samples and protecting the research. Not saving people, not stopping the outbreak, protecting research. Richard came over. He'd been listening. If what you're saying is true, they're going to bury this. Make it disappear. Everyone in this mine, we're witnesses. We know what really happened. That makes us dangerous. You think they'll kill us? Someone asked from across the chamber. I think they'll try to make sure we never talk about what we saw here. New identities, maybe. Forced relocation. Non-disclosure agreements backed by threats. That's if we're lucky. And if we're not lucky? Richard didn't answer. He didn't have to. The hours crawled by. Emma woke up around 6 in the evening. I held her and tried to find the words to tell her about Daniel. But before I could, we heard something that made everyone freeze. Helicopters. Lots of them. The sound echoing through the mine shafts. Then a voice over a loudspeaker, muffled but clear enough to understand. Attention survivors. This is Colonel James Patterson of the Arizona National Guard. The fire has been contained. The infection has been eliminated. We are conducting rescue operations. If you can hear this message and you are uninfected, make your presence known. Mark your location with any visible signal. We will extract you. Repeat, if you are uninfected and need assistance, signal your location now. People started cheering, crying with relief. We were saved. Finally, after 3 days of hell, we were saved. But Jake grabbed my arm. Rachel, don't. It's a trap. What are you talking about? They're rescuing us. No, they're finding us. Finding out who survived. Who knows what happened here? Think about it. If they really wanted to save people, why wait until after the town is completely destroyed? Why not evacuate before the bombing? Richard was nodding. He's right. This is cleanup. They're finding the loose ends. You're both paranoid, someone said. They're here to help us. The argument escalated quickly. Half the group wanted to signal the helicopters, half wanted to stay hidden. Richard tried to keep everyone calm, but it was chaos. People screaming at each other, fear and desperation making everyone irrational. Then Tyler did something stupid. He ran toward the entrance, started pulling away the rocks we'd piled up. I'm not staying down here to die, I'm signaling them. Richard tried to stop him, but Tyler was fast. He got the entrance partially cleared and ran outside, waving his arms, shouting up at the helicopters. We watched from the entrance, watched the helicopter spotlight find Tyler, watched it circle once, watched Tyler smile and wave, so happy to be rescued. Then we watched the helicopter's machine gun light him up. Tyler's body jerked and danced as the bullets tore through him. He was dead before he hit the ground. Emma screamed. I covered her eyes, but it was too late. She'd seen. We'd all seen. The helicopter's spotlight swept toward the mine entrance. We scrambled back inside, piling rocks back up as fast as we could. The spotlight found the entrance. We heard soldiers rappelling down from the helicopter. They're coming, Richard said. Everyone deeper into the mine, now. We ran. All 43 of us, carrying what supplies we could, fleeing deeper into the abandoned uranium mine. Behind us, we could hear the soldiers at the entrance, shouting, moving rocks, coming after us. The tunnels branched off in multiple directions. Richard split us into 3 groups to confuse them. Jake, Emma, and I went left with about 15 others. Richard took another group right. Dr. Park led the 3rd group straight back. We ran through the darkness, flashlights bouncing, kids crying, adults gasping for breath. The tunnels got narrower, lower. The air got colder and staler. Behind us we could hear the soldiers, their radios, their footsteps, getting closer. We reached a junction where the tunnel split again. Jake pointed to a small side passage, barely big enough to crawl through. There, we can hide in there. We can't all fit, I said. Then we split up more. 5 people per passage. We scatter, make them search every tunnel. It was a desperate plan, but it was all we had. We split up. Jake, Emma, and I went into the small passage with 2 others. An elderly man named Bill Preston and a teenage girl named Anna. We crawled through the narrow space, the rocks scraping our backs and knees. It opened into a tiny chamber, maybe 10 feet across. We turned off our flashlights and sat in the darkness, barely breathing, listening. We could hear the soldiers searching, their voices echoing through the tunnels. Clear. Nothing here. Keep moving. Emma was shaking in my arms. I held her close, one hand over her mouth to keep her quiet. Hours passed. The soldiers moved through the mine systematically, checking every branch, every chamber. Twice they came close to our hiding spot. Twice they moved on without finding us. Finally, after what felt like forever, we heard them leaving, heard the helicopters taking off. Then silence. We waited another hour before turning on the flashlights. Jake crawled to the passage entrance and listened. I think they're gone. Should we go back? Bill asked. Not yet. We wait until morning. Make sure they're really gone. So we waited. In the dark. In the cold. Emma cried herself to sleep. I held her and thought about Daniel, about how he'd given his life to save us from the infected. And now we were hiding in the dark from our own government, from the people who were supposed to protect us. Around dawn, Jake crawled out to scout. He came back 20 minutes later, his face grim. The entrance is clear. The soldiers are gone. But Rachel, you need to see this. We crawled out of our hiding spot and made our way back through the tunnels. Other survivors were emerging too. We'd lost 3 people. They'd found them and taken them. Whether they took them alive or dead, we didn't know. When we got to the entrance and looked outside, I understood why Jake looked so grim. Pine Top Lakeside was gone. Not damaged, not burned, gone. The entire town had been reduced to ash and rubble. Every building, every house, every street. It looked like the surface of the moon, gray, dead, empty. And in the center of where Main Street used to be, someone had put up a sign, official government sign. It read, Pine Top Lakeside, Arizona, destroyed by wildfire, September 2024. Condemned area, no trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. A wildfire. That's what they were going to call it. That's the lie they were going to tell. 4,000 people dead, and they were going to say it was a natural disaster. We can't let them get away with this, Jake said. We have to tell people what really happened. How? Richard asked. He'd survived too, along with Dr. Park and about 30 others. They'll kill us if we talk. You saw what they did to Tyler. Then we don't talk. Not yet. We disappear, scatter, change our names, and we document everything. Write it down, hide it. Make sure the truth survives even if we don't. Dr. Park nodded. I can do that. I'm a doctor. I saw the infected up close. I can document the symptoms, the progression, make it scientific, make it undeniable. And I'll write about Daniel, I said. About what he did, about how he saved us. People need to know he was a hero. We stayed at the mine for 2 more days, scavenging what we could from the ruins, gathering supplies for our escape. On September 5th, we scattered. Richard went north, Dr. Park went west, Jake, Emma, and I went south toward Phoenix. The government found us anyway. They always do. September 6th, 2024, Phoenix, Arizona. Written by Rachel Garrett. We made it to Phoenix yesterday evening. Jake had a friend who owned a motel on the outskirts of the city. The kind of place that doesn't ask questions if you pay cash. We've been holed up here ever since, trying to figure out our next move. Emma hasn't spoken since we left the mine. Not a word. She just stares at nothing, clutching the stuffed rabbit Daniel won for her at the county fair last year. She's waiting for her daddy, waiting for him to walk through that door and tell her everything's going to be okay. He's not coming. He's never coming. And eventually she'll have to accept that. We both will. Jake came back from his supply run around noon today with food, clothes, and a newspaper. The headline made me sick. Wildfire devastates Pine Top Lakeside. All 4,500 residents presumed dead. 4,500. They inflated the number by 50 people, making the tragedy seem bigger, I guess, more devastating. The article talked about unprecedented drought conditions, high winds, lightning strikes, a perfect storm of natural disasters that converged to destroy an entire town. No mention of infection, no mention of the military bombing the town, no mention of the thing in the woods that started it all. Just a sad story about a natural disaster that could have happened to anyone. They're rewriting history, Jake said, making us into ghosts. He was right. According to the official record, Rachel Garrett died in that fire. Daniel Garrett died in that fire. Emma Garrett died in that fire. We don't exist anymore. We're just names on a memorial website. Our families crying over empty caskets. There was a knock at the door around 3 o'clock. Jake grabbed the kitchen knife. I pulled Emma behind me. We weren't expecting anyone. Nobody knew we were here. Mrs. Garrett? A woman's voice. Professional. Calm. My name is Dr. Amanda Voss. I'm with the CDC. I need to speak with you. It's about Pine Top. Jake and I looked at each other. This was it. They'd found us. Faster than we'd expected. I'm alone, Dr. Voss continued. Unarmed. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to talk. Please. Jake checked the window. There's just one woman out there, maybe mid-30s. She's in civilian clothes, no uniform. Could be a trap. Could be. But if they wanted us dead, they wouldn't knock. He had a point. Jake opened the door slowly, knife ready. Dr. Voss stood there with her hands visible, holding a briefcase. She was Asian American, professional looking, with tired eyes that had seen too much. Thank you for opening the door, she said. I know you have no reason to trust me, but I need you to know that I'm not here representing the government. I'm here representing the truth. What truth? I asked. The truth about what happened in Pine Top, about the infection, about the source. She glanced down the hallway. Can I come in? This isn't a conversation we should have in the open. Jake let her in. She sat at the small table and opened her briefcase. Inside were files, medical reports, photographs, lab results. My brother was the patient zero, she said quietly. Robert. I've been investigating his death since September 2nd when I couldn't reach him by phone. The CDC sent me to Pine Top as part of the assessment team. What I found there, it wasn't what they told me I'd find. What did you find? Jake asked. Evidence of a cover-up. The military knew about the infection source before the outbreak. There's a classified research facility in the White Mountains, about 15 miles from where Robert was hiking. They've been studying something they found in the old uranium mines. Something ancient. Something that produces a pathogen that turns mammals into aggressive, interconnected hosts. The thing in the woods, I said, with the red eyes. Dr. Voss nodded. Robert and his girlfriend Jennifer saw it. Jennifer survived initially. The military took her into custody on September 3rd. She's listed as dead now. Died in a transport accident before she could be properly quarantined. They killed her. Yes, anyone who saw the source organism, anyone who could testify to its existence, has been eliminated. You three and the other mine survivors are the only witnesses left. Then why are you telling us this? Why help us? Because my brother is dead. Because 4,000 people are dead. And because I took an oath to protect public health, not protect government secrets. She pulled out a small recording device. I need you to tell me everything that happened, everything you saw, everything you experienced. I'm documenting it all, and when I have enough evidence, I'm going to expose this. They'll kill you, Jake said. Probably, but at least the truth will be out there. Someone will know what really happened. So I told her. Everything. From Daniel bringing Robert to the hospital on September 1st, to the emergency alert, to the infection spreading, to Daniel's sacrifice, to the military hunting us in the mines. Jake added details I'd missed. Dr. Voss recorded it all, asking questions, taking notes. When I finished, she sat back in her chair. Your husband was remarkably brave. The infection typically takes full control within hours. The fact that he maintained his humanity for 3 days, that he was able to sacrifice himself to save others, that's extraordinary. It's who he was, I said. He always helped people, even when it killed him. Dr. Voss packed up her files. I'm going to give you something. She handed me a business card with just a phone number on it. This is a secure line. If you're ever in danger, if the government finds you, call this number. There are others like me in the CDC who want the truth to come out. We'll help you disappear. Really disappear this time. What about the other survivors? Richard, Dr. Park, the others? I'll find them. Document their stories too. Build a case that's too big to ignore. She stood to leave. At the door, she turned back. Mrs. Garrett, you should know that the infection isn't contained. 3 weeks ago, there was an outbreak in Red Lodge, Montana. 2 weeks ago, in Cloudcroft, New Mexico. The official story for both was wildfires. But I've seen the medical reports. It's the same pathogen, the same symptoms. It's spreading. My blood ran cold. How is that possible? They burned Pinetop to the ground. Because the source is still out there, still in those mountains, still infecting hikers and campers who get too close. And instead of warning people, instead of quarantining the area properly, the government is just waiting for outbreaks to happen and then burning the towns to hide the evidence. That's insane. That's bureaucracy. That's what happens when secrecy becomes more important than public safety. She handed me a thick envelope. There's $10,000 in cash in here. Enough to get you somewhere safe. Change your names, your appearances. Never stay in one place too long. And whatever you do, don't trust anyone in uniform. She left. Jake, Emma, and I stared at the envelope of cash and the business card. We need to run, Jake said. Right now. She's probably being followed. We have maybe an hour before they find this place. He was right. We packed everything in 10 minutes and left. We've been moving ever since. Phoenix to Albuquerque, Albuquerque to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City to Memphis, never staying more than a few days, always paying cash, always looking over our shoulders. Emma started talking again in Oklahoma. Her first words were, "Is Daddy in heaven?" I told her yes. I told her he was watching over us. I told her he was proud of her for being so brave. She nodded and went back to coloring. It's been 2 months now since Pinetop burned. We're in a small town in Georgia. Jake got a job at a garage under a fake name. Emma's enrolled in school as Emily Grant. I'm working at a diner. We're trying to build some kind of normal life out of the ashes. But it doesn't feel normal. It feels like we're waiting for them to find us, waiting for another outbreak, waiting for the truth to come out. I'm writing this in a journal I bought at a drugstore, documenting everything, just like Dr. Voss said. If something happens to me, if the government finds us, this journal will survive. I'll make sure of it. I'll hide copies everywhere, mail them to lawyers, to reporters, to anyone who might listen. Daniel died to save us. The least I can do is make sure his death meant something. Make sure people know what really happened in Pinetop Lakeside. Make sure the truth doesn't die with us. I miss him. Every day. Every hour. Emma asks about him less now, but I can see it in her eyes. That sadness. That empty place where her father used to be. She'll grow up without him. She'll never get to see him at her graduation, her wedding, meet his grandchildren. The infection took all of that from us, and the government is letting it happen again and again. I don't know how long we can keep running. I don't know if we'll ever be safe. But I know this. Daniel Garrett was a hero, and if telling his story, if exposing what happened, can save even one more person, then it's worth the risk. This is my last entry. Tomorrow we move again, but I'm leaving this journal here, hidden in the wall of this motel room. If you found it, if you're reading this, please don't let his sacrifice be forgotten. Don't let any of their sacrifices be forgotten. Rachel Garrett, November 3rd, 2024. Dr. Amanda Voss's final report, November 14th, 2024. I found Rachel Garrett's journal yesterday, hidden in a motel room wall in Georgia, exactly where she said it would be in her last phone call to me. Rachel Garrett died on November 4th, 2024. Her body was found in her apartment, along with Jake's. Official cause of death: carbon monoxide poisoning from a faulty heater. Accidental. Tragic. Convenient. Emma Garrett is alive. She's in protective custody. I've made sure she's somewhere safe, somewhere they can't find her. She's 7 years old and she's lost everything. Her father, her mother, her home, her entire world. But she's alive, and as long as she's alive, the truth survives with her. I tracked down the other survivors. Richard Cross died in October. Heart attack. Dr. Lisa Park died last week. Car accident. Of the 40 survivors who escaped that mine, only 12 are still alive. The government is systematically eliminating anyone who knows what really happened. I've submitted my findings to the CDC. I've documented everything. The infection source, the cover-up, the ongoing outbreaks. I've sent copies to journalists, to senators, to anyone who might listen. They're going to classify it all, bury it, make it disappear, just like they did with Pine Top. But here's what they can't bury. This journal, Rachel's testimony, Daniel's sacrifice. I'm publishing it online, uploading it everywhere, archive sites, conspiracy forums, anywhere that might preserve it. The government will try to scrub it from the internet, call it a hoax, discredit anyone who shares it. But the truth has a way of surviving, even when people don't. There have been 6 more outbreaks since Pine Top, all in mountain communities, all near old mining operations, all covered up as natural disasters. The pattern is clear. The source organism is spreading. And instead of warning people, instead of quarantining the affected areas, the government is just burning towns and counting bodies. How many more Daniels will die? How many more Emmas will lose everything? I don't know. But I do know this. Daniel Garrett was right. Some things are worth dying for. Some truths are worth telling, even when it costs you everything. If you're reading this, if you found this document, be careful. Don't go hiking in the White Mountains. Don't camp near abandoned mines. And if you see something in the woods with glowing red eyes, something that makes a clicking sound like insect wings, run. Don't try to help it. Don't try to study it. Just run. And if you hear about a town going dark, about a wildfire destroying an entire community, remember Pine Top Lakeside. Remember Daniel Garrett. Remember that the official story is always a lie. The infection is real. The cover-up is real. And it's still happening. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. And whatever you do, don't trust anyone who tells you it's just a wildfire. Dr. Amanda Voss, CDC Special Pathogens Branch, November 14th, 2024.